Roll call.
Bill Connor,
Here.
Ron Humboldt, Catherine Kenny,
Present.
Angie Quinn,
Present.
Thad Taylor,
Here.
Dennis Otto,
Here.
Lee Trucks.
Yes. Approval agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Support. Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If anyone has a conflict of interest, you can declare it now. Hearing nothing, we'll move on. Approval of minutes. You all received minutes in your package.
Move to approve. Approve.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment on agenda-related items. Hearing none, we'll go on to new business, 369 River Street. I think you all have the application for the COA. Do you have a motion to accept it?
Motion to accept. I'll support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
Do you have a question for me? I'll be happy to answer.
When do you think it'll be done?
It will be before winter. It kind of depends on, the installation of the platforms is actually the most difficult part that we're going to be working with. Boss Manufacturing said they can make the platforms fairly simply. It's just a matter of installing them, which is what requires like a crane, whatnot.
Brandon,
The
is it going to
doors-
be all metal?
Yeah, yeah. The doors take like 6 weeks from when the time that you order them. So we'll have to wait that long just to get those, but I'm hoping to get it all done around that time. Yeah, the sooner the better for me, to have access off the parking lot, so.
I have a question about the windows, which I know is not part of this, but have they been replaced with wood windows, or what was the material that was used? Because they look like they're new windows.
They are wood.
They're wood, okay. And my guess is that you chose fiberglass as the door because it's more secure for a door, or?
It is, so those are 8 feet tall.
Okay,
So the sturdier the better, material-wise, and the glass in them, we wanted them to match the windows, so they kind of blend in with the windows themselves. So yeah, that was why we picked that, and they'll be painted black, so and all the trim around the windows that you see will also be painted black too, so.
okay,
Kind of have a seamless look.
nice. I just wanted to check on that. so
Yep.
thanks.
Any more comment or questions? Is that a roll call vote?
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Catherine Kenny,
Yes.
Angie Quinn,
Yes.
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
Dennis Otto,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes. So we are done with that. Thank you, Brandon.
Sorry.
We're done already, yeah.
Almost had it knocked off. Again, I appreciate it, and the timeline is important to me, that's why I was trying to get it in. Unfortunately, I was the only one on the agenda, so, sorry.
Thanks for coming back and applying for the COA for this project, because I know you already applied for one for the windows and
And
appreciate
painting the
yeah.
building.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're doing everything the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. The only old business is the permit review
Yes, and there's not
in front of you.
a whole lot new on here. I actually think that new to you painting the building might be the only newer one. I have issued a handful of permits in the past week that didn't make it in the agenda packet, so you'll see some new ones at the next meeting. And then I am going to start really following up with some of these newly expired and coming up on being expired permits to make sure those that need to reapply are doing so and to close out what we can on here. But other than that, I'll take any questions you guys have, but I think a lot of these, or potentially all of them, are permits that you've seen before.
Katie, excuse me,
I was just say, thanks for keeping up with the list, that's.
Yeah.
do you remember if there was a deadline for Joe Mathewson to complete the work that we approved?
He was given a year. I don't think we really discussed a shorter deadline for him, so he was issued a permit that's good for a year, just as everyone else who gets the certificate of appropriateness. And he was pretty adamant that it was something that he was gonna get done right away.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I'll follow back with him because he does actually still need to apply for, so he got his certificate of appropriateness for the work and for placing the sign. And it does feel a little bit redundant, but there's also the sign permit that he'll have to apply for, which he hasn't. So maybe I'll use that as a way to say, hey, you know, I'm still waiting for you to apply for that sign permit. And when do you think you're gonna be, you know, getting started on this? Because, yeah, I mean, it was March, we're only in June, but a year can go by real quick when you have construction projects. So I'll follow back with him and make sure he's still thinking about it.
Because he'll come in and say, well, it's snowing now.
Yeah, right, right. Yes, I will definitely follow up with him.
Correspondence?
None.
Reports, DDA Executive Director. Museum Curator.
Nothing.
Zoning Administrator.
I just have a couple brief things for you guys. So our next meeting, you'll see the updated agenda with some of the bylaw amendments that we had made. City Council approved those amendments last night. So the mayor's gonna sign that, and Lee, I'll get in touch with you to sign that final copy. And then Catherine, I know you had brought up 318 River Street with the garage door. I did go down and inspect, but I haven't had a chance to compare previous photos and make contact with the owner, but I just wanted to make sure that you know I am gonna continue to work on that. So, yeah, and it does look like, because it was the darker garage door that's closer to the Riverwalk, right? There's one like tucked in, but that one looked like it had been there for a while.
It used to be a window.
Okay, you know for sure it used to be a window. Okay, then I will definitely make contact with them and start, you know, at least get them before you, and that will be up to you guys if that's something that you're wanting to approve after the fact, or they, you know, very well may have to restore it back to what it was. So we'll probably have that coming down the pipeline. And that's all I have for you guys.
Public comments at this time? Well, one thing, what's happening with the Historic District Commission and the Planning Commission going back to the city?
From what I understand at this point, and Bill might be able to speak on this too if you wanted to direct that at him, that our contract ends September 30th. So, Bill, I don't know if you want to speak on that at all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yep, so we're, council had approved bringing that in-house. We had an increase that was proposed. I think there were multiple reasons to kind of look at bringing that in-house, but Katie's done an excellent job. I really appreciate all their work. I'm meeting with the personnel committee on Monday to kind of go over the job descriptions, and then we'll post. And obviously there's a lot of variables about the when you post something like that, we have to get a qualified candidate. But that's the plan. So, any questions about that, or?
You think it's realistic to get somebody by the end of September?
I'm hopeful. It does take longer. As you know, it takes longer.
Yeah.
Typically, I think we just having our fire chief start Monday, and that process started months ago. So I'm looking forward to working with the county to make sure that we have a good transition with that. So.
What's the city's plan in case you don't have anybody by September 30th? Or have you reached out to the county to see if they'd help out?
Yeah, my plan would be to work with the county to kind of make sure we have a seamless transition.
Good, good.
How many people are you hiring?
So we're looking at, and like I said, I'm finalizing this with the personnel committee, but a building official, and also either community development director, planning and zoning administrator. So that's all. So 2 people initially. And there's usually, people have different experiences, so I think kind of, getting the one, either the community development director first and seeing what they're specialized, what they're, what they bring to the table, and then also then kind of doing the building official. Ideally, we'd be filling one, but we've had issues with the Safe Bill contract, and they wanted an increase, and council hasn't been too happy, so we're looking at bringing that in-house.
So you won't be using Safe Built anymore then?
No, yeah, that's
Under the
under.
program? Okay.
There's a lot of fun things happening. Exciting.
Sounds like a lot of work.
So, before you sit down, I actually have a question. I think we're kind of at the member discussion now. So I come from a community that had like a really robust staff for historic preservation, within community development. They were part of the planning staff. And they were also a certified local government, which is the designation that Manistee has. They did all sorts of things, their staff, and I know that we aren't going to be able to do that here, but they did things like they kept the updated list of the sites and structures inventory. Do we have a sites and structures inventory for anything outside of the historic district?
Outside of the historic.
So we've never done one as a community to see what other historic resources might be designatable?
Oh, to add to the district?
To be its own district. Usually you do different districts, so it's not just a one thing. You can have, the community I came from had probably 65 districts.
Oh.
Historical district?
Yeah. Some were residential, some were commercial, some were parks. There's all sorts of different ways that things can be designated. But I was just wondering if Manistee has ever looked beyond.
Well,
For a residential
the
district?
Historic District Commission does have an overview of the other historic.
Yeah,
things around
there are a
the-
handful of individual sites outside of the historic district that are designated historic properties,
John
but
First
not
Buck's
districts
house.
as you're describing, and I think that majority of those sites, at least I would assume, maybe some of like the churches and stuff, I feel like they were pursued on the property, like the property owner pursued it themselves for that designation. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows that. Okay, yeah.
Familiar with it.
Part of the reason I'm bringing it up is because, historic designation is available for buildings that are over 50 years old. So every year, there's some more buildings that are potentially historic. And there's really nice design of lots of different ages and eras and styles and types throughout this community. And I'm just wondering, obviously not for today, because I'm just bringing it up during this member discussion, but is there a desire by the community to look at other things?
Yeah,
Neighborhoods?
Like neighborhoods?
that's a good question. I don't know if it's been posed to residents or,
The beaches
yeah.
have some historic importance. Some of the industrial stuff has historic importance.
Just a thought, enhancing the website with an inventory or just cataloging some of that stuff, maybe we can work with Mark on that. But I think adding that to the website would be nice, and I'm not sure if we have a historic district webpage, but
Yeah.
I think that would be a great place to put it.
How many historic structures in the city of Manistee, Mark, do you know? I know there's over 120 in the county.
If I can really quick, briefly answer that, I think I've been with the Historic District Commission for about 15 years, and I think early on there was some interest or some comments made by members of the commission to possibly pursue other historic districts within the city, like a residential or so on and so forth. But I think the consensus was we're not going to tell people what to do with their historic home or what kind of grout to use in these materials, because that's our concentration is on this designated historic district from 1982, that when it was designated, and I think we'd be moving past they thought they'd be moving past their boundaries if we were to try to set up some residential district. And at this point in time,
They're generally, homeowners are the ones who request it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not that we
Yeah.
would be forcing anything on
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah.
But the reason I'm bringing it up, you're leaving September 30th. The federal government has historic preservation funds every year that are administered through states. I have no idea when Michigan's grant deadline is for those things. In Indiana, it was October 15th. And so if we wanted to do something even as simple as we talked about possibly doing some sort of informational materials to hand out to the property owners, that's something that you could apply for HPF funds for. Or to have a more robust historic sites and structures inventory done to see what actually is also eligible in the community. You can apply for funds to get that done. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up, and I'm bringing it up while you're here too, just to get that
Just a
out
quick
there.
question. Would the property owners then apply to get those funds?
No, the
Themselves?
city, the CLG, the certified
Yeah.
local government would need
Okay.
to apply for the funds to do a project.
Okay.
How does that happen when it's a private owner? So the city gets funds
To do a study.
Yeah, just a study is what she's
Okay, so
describing.
To determine eligibility, basically, because my building's 130 years old, but it's not historic, okay? It's vinyl sided, it's been muddled a lot, so, and I just said that on, like, the microphone in front of the Historic Preservation Group, but so I would never even think that I would list it, but I own other buildings in other places that, you know, are on the National Register or are a local historic district in the community where they are, because it's an important way to maintain what's cool and unique about their exteriors. So I don't know, it could be a way to move forward in a really friendly way, is to say, hey, these are all potentially historic places or neighborhoods or whatever. Let us know if you're interested, and maybe we can figure out a process so people could do either single site listings or neighborhood listings.
Well, and I wonder if with funding being available for studies and things of that nature, if you could also integrate like a community survey with some type of grant funding to also, you know, not only do an inventory, but get a sense from the community if that's something that they,
There might be interest, yeah, what are
They're
the
interested
advantages,
in.
just, you know, there's a whole lot of things. Also, in the community I came from, one of the staff positions was funded by HPF funds every year, so,
That's good to know. And I think
bringing it up, so.
now, I'm coming from larger communities, and I realize we have a lean staff here, and it's worked out well, but I think when you don't have a robust community development department, you miss out on missed opportunities, and there's a lot of funding coming through, so I'm excited about that aspect of it, of being able to apply for these types of things like studies and other funding.
You know, it would require interest, so I just,
Yep,
but
no,
you have to
definitely.
put the bug in someone's ear to start.
It's been a long time since any kind of a study like that was done. It's going back into the 1980s when there were some studies that were done, mainly in the downtown area. I don't know how far, Mark, do you remember how far out those went?
I'm sorry?
You know,
Studies?
the studies that were done in the 1980s in the early part?
I think I might have copies of them down at the museum, probably at least 81, 82, I think around the time that our downtown was designated. There were neighborhood studies done.
So you're probably looking at things that were built before 1930 for the most part then, because you don't really look, it was a
Yeah,
50-year
yeah.
criterion. So that was like 50 years ago,
Yeah.
or at least 30 years ago.
anything
So, you know,
built
it's
since
like-
that,
it's-
from that point on, or?
There's a
yeah.
few things that may have become historic since then.
That's the kind of thing that might be easier to do if this historic district is brought back into the city. And there's a community development and that whole thing. I know.
It's-
That's not something that's in the county's contract, just
No.
No.
studies like that, or even do a proposal for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Yes.
Member discussion, I think that's what we just had.
Yes.
Any other member discussions? We adjourn.
Sport.